Yeah, shit. This was in Houston.
Good to know.
This is in Houston, though. That makes sense, blue.
That's where my story is.
Oh, shit. I'm going to keep that in
Houston,
then.
you crazy bitch.
I'll keep it in then. It makes it relevant. Holy shit. Yeah, that's so crazy. Oh, it's not Houston, it's Corpus. What's a blue alert?
Isn't that when like an old person goes missing?
No, that's a silver. I learned on Morbid it's silver or special, like not special needs, but like if you're mentally
disability.
Yeah, mental disability. There you go.
Is that what silver? No, that silver's for old people.
Silver is for 65 and up and mental disability, because they had a silver alert out on this like 19-year-old, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why would they put that on a 19-year-old? She's not an elderly citizen. And then they explained how like it is for elderly people, but it's also for people who are like mentally disabled and can't, like, you need to be on the lookout for them because they don't know how to basically like make decisions for themselves.
They're not like capable. Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that's cool. So I was like, I was for sure that it was elderly, and it is, but it's also that. I don't know what a blue alert is, though. I just got one. Let me see. Oh, shit.
Oh.
It's a statewide alert after a police officer is killed, seriously injured, or missing after an interaction with a suspect who is on the run.
Oh, shit.
It's in Corpus. Dude Joshua Powell is considered armed and dangerous and is wanted for attempted capital murder, so I don't think he killed him.
Oh.
Craziness. Well, hey guys. I'm glad you stuck through that little rant. This is the Red Rum and Red Wine podcast, the podcast where we talk about murder, mysteries, and mishaps. And my name's Kristen. Hi. Welcome.
Hi, y'all. It's Sarah.
What up?
How's everyone doing?
I was going to say it's Monday, but it's not. It feels like the fucking emotions of a Monday, you know?
Oh, dude, it's Thursday.
Ugh.
No, it's Wednesday.
Oh, my God. We don't. What
like,
day
wait,
is it?
No.
What year is it? What month is it? We have no clue.
Where am I?
You know, so when I was trying to, someone was trying to explain to me the relativity, space, speed of light, and oh my God, I can't even function the right sentence because I don't even know science. I can't.
The space of relativity?
It's like how when you get closer to the speed of light, like your perception of time. Like time is just a perception to us because fucking when you get closer to the speed of light, time goes by quicker or slower, or I don't even fucking know. It's like how Matthew McConaughey went over to that one planet and he came back and his daughter was elderly. It's because he like spent a day on that planet, but a day on that planet is like 97 years on Earth. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, that has to do with how long it takes the planet to rotate. But yeah.
No, it's like
right?
No, it's
their days are
it's like Einstein's theory of relativity or some shit like that. It has to do with like the speed of light is a constant thing, but where we are in the planet, like, is it? I don't even know. Like, what the fuck? Can someone please explain this to us?
And this is a true crime podcast, not a science podcast.
And now we're going to go into more theories of relativity featuring E equals MC squared. But yeah, I don't fucking... It's like something to do with the speed of light. But it's not like... Time to us is not what time... It's like a perception. Yeah? Sure.
Yes.
It's a timeline. Think of it like a...
I get lost in the timeline all the time.
I'm lost in the timeline right now, baby. So,
yeah.
What are we talking about?
Just came back.
What are we talking about today? Now, freshly out of this timeline. I heard it's a fucking long one, man. I'm excited. You're first really lengthy one, I think.
It's longer than, some of my previous, and I really could have made it longer, man, but I don't know. In the first place, there aren't a whole lot of specifics, but there's just a lot to talk about, and I could have just gone on and on probably, but here we are, 27 pages.
Good. I love when you have so much information available to you, you kind of like don't know what to do with yourself. It's just, it's so rare, I feel like. It's fun when you get those chances.
Yeah, so that being said, I hope it makes sense, I hope it flows, and I hope it's not too disturbing.
Yeah. And also, it is a afternoon / into the night recording. That
early evening.
That means a early demon by the name of my son is awake and may be screaming and banging. So I'm just going to apologize for that in advance, because I know last episode we heard it, and I'm so sorry. Yeah. But I can't open the oven and put his head in like we did in the olden days. It's shunned upon now, I guess. So
yeah, you can't put him in a drawer.
Yeah. So you can't. Apparently you get sent to jail for that kind of. Well, I don't know. Apparently not all the time, but
not all the time.
I wouldn't want to risk it. Okay.
Well, you know what?
I just want to make it clear, I would not abuse my child.
It was jokes. They were jokes.
That was a joke. Hi.
Ha ha.
Okay, moving along. I'm gonna take. If you couldn't tell, we're drinking. I have a.
Oh yeah, what are you drinking?
Got a little.
None other.
Fucking should have named this show Seltzer and Red Rum and Red Seltzer. I'm drinking a red raspberry. White Claw, yes. There you go. What are you drinking?
Very nice. I am finishing off a little beer here. Santa Fe Brewing Company 7K IPA, but then I have a trusty Walmart glass of wine sit next to me.
Oh, hells yeah, love the
prepared.
Mix.
Yeah, I need it.
It's a toughie.
Well, yeah, the toughie, and then I just have a lot I need to do still today after recording, so it's just one of those days, man.
It's just one of those days / nights, so let's get into it.
Okay. Well, first, Kristen, I'll just ask you if you've ever heard of the Candyman Killer.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So I know that there is the woman in the apartment. I know that killing, and then I know that there's another one, but I'm forgetting it. So I don't know if it's that one.
Okay. Well, it's not the woman.
Okay. One. I remember, but I don't. Okay, good.
So,
then good. Okay, I don't really remember it then. Yes, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
You might remember it once I start to talk about it, because it's pretty, it's just mind-blowing, because the Candyman Killer was a serial killer, but he isn't really on those lists of most famous serial killers or most known or popular serial killers. Because I randomly came across my research, and I looked at it, and it was a long list, and his name wasn't on there. So I don't know if it's been kind of brushed under the rug because of maybe some aspects of it or what. But he was also known as the Pied Piper, but I don't think that's a commonly used name for him. So one of the reasons why maybe it may not be, and see, I may even be saying he may not be as remembered, or it may not be as big of a case, but it might be, and I'm just saying that. I don't know. I just know in my experience thus far, I don't think it's gotten as much attention as other serial killers.
Yeah.
So, and just period.
Yeah.
So,
it's not like a Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper, fucking situation.
No, but it might as well be, because there were a lot of victims in only about 3 years.
Oh, shit.
And all of the victims were young boys and teenage boys who suffered at the hands of a pedophile.
Oh, it's coming back to me.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So those aspects might be a part to play in the attention it received. When it happened, there was a media frenzy, you know, surrounding the
uptick in
the
pyramid
the
scheme?
top of a roller coaster.
Oh. Huh?
That
hill?
Word.
Getting over the hill? Getting
Jesus
over
Christ.
the roller coaster.
That point, though.
The peak.
Yes, but I don't think that's the word
the
I'm looking for.
top.
But yeah, let's go with peak. Yeah. So at the peak of the story, it was a media frenzy, but I'm just going to forget about that part. Climax.
It was going to bother me until I came out with something. Climax.
But honestly,
is a good one, but it doesn't. It's not roller coaster. But.
Example. The climax of a roller coaster isn't really at the top. It's like when you're going down the top. So it didn't really make sense.
Like
well, it
down.
differs
it's
for
whatever.
everybody.
It's fine.
Though.
You know what?
Okay. All right. So anyways, this case is just insane to me. And like I did mention a second ago about a pedophile, it does involve pedophilia. So I won't go into severe details. I just wanted to mention that.
Trigger warning to anyone who doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah. This one takes place in Houston, Texas. In the early 1970s. I'll be talking kind of a lot about a specific area or suburb called the Heights. Kristen, I don't know if you've heard of it, but I've spent a little time there.
In Houston?
It's just like a neighborhood. It's like it's near downtown, kind of just like a little above it.
I mean, like,
it's called the Heights, but it's just like an area.
I barely know where I am in San Antonio, so the few times I've been in Houston, don't.
Why do I even ask?
Yeah, sorry. One day, maybe. Not really. Don't bet on it.
The Heights were known as an upper class and kind of wealthy area back then, but in the early 70s, there was kind of an economic downturn.
I was like, what? Okay.
Yep. Downturn
I'm funky
where
with it.
where it got turned down, and it just wasn't as maybe nice. But I mean, even to present day, the Heights is a pretty nice area in Houston. So
my experience with Houston, it's like you can be on a really nice street and then you cross the street and you're suddenly in the wrong part of town.
Yeah, you cross the tracks.
Yeah.
So I mean, present day, I think it's pretty nice. There's still crime obviously all over Houston, but back then it did kind of go from nice to not as nice. It became a popular place for runaway teenagers to kind of hang out in the streets.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah, and in the early 70s, there was a significant amount of teenagers or young boys or men, to be exact, were missing from the Heights specifically. So
wait, sorry. What time was this again?
The early 70s.
Early 70s. Got it.
Yeah. I'll get into more exact dates later, but just picture the early 70s at this point. I'm talking a little more in general right now, and then we'll start.
Yeah, I know you probably said the time frame, but my brain.
No, it's okay. All I said was early 70s.
My brain skipped that part.
During this time, it was sometimes more common for parents not to report their child missing or gone. Some parents did, because like most just accepted the fact that their kid just ran away, and they're like, okay. But some parents knew that their kids weren't the type to run away, and those were the ones who would report their children missing. What was the
general age of these kids going missing? Were they like 16 and up, or?
About 13 to 19.
I don't know why. Not that I justify it, but I guess like as a parent in the 70s, I could see them if their son was like 16 or older being like, oh, he just wanted to go live his life, like let him go do that.
Teenage boys in the 70s.
It was a completely different fucking time. Like I have to remember that, but at the same time I'm like, how could you not be worried about your child as soon as they leave your fucking house? Like,
I know. And that's why the majority just accepted the fact.
That's so fucked up. That's so fucked up.
Yeah, it was really
sad.
Well, but also, so it's important to note at this time, the Houston Police Department didn't have a missing persons division. So specifically when teenagers or young people were reported missing, their main methods of investigation included just talking to people, talking to friends, neighbors, and seeing what they knew or didn't know. And they just would add the names of the missing to a list, basically, or like put their picture up in their office.
That makes me...
Not much was done.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies. I just like... Because I don't even think that the milk carton was a thing in the 70s. No, I think it was until like the 80s. It's just... I know we looked it up and probably have already said it, but oh my God. I'm just like... How? Why did... I'm sorry, kids of the past. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. So it was assumed by police that when a teenage boy went missing, that they just ran away, regardless of if the parents thought that, you know, because I mentioned most of the parents who did report their children missing, or sons, because we're talking about sons in this case, boys, they knew that they weren't the type to run away, but police would still just be like, oh, they probably ran away.
That's like still their excuse to this day. Let's be honest. Not much has changed.
Stupid.
So stupid.
So I will get a little bit now into the... God, like, how do I even start this? Just about the fucking drama, the fucking terror that this community and that these children and their families endured. So on May 29th, 1971, 13-year-old David Hillegeist and his friend 16-year-old Mally Winkle decided to go swimming at the local pool in the Heights area. Mm-hmm. So they were like at David's house. So they leave, they wave bye to David's mom, and she never saw them again.
Either?
Both of them vanished. So the last time anyone saw them was when they were getting into a van nearby David's home, but they just like never returned home.
Do we ever find them?
I'll maybe get into that in a minute.
Oh my God.
David's mom, Dorothy Hillegeist, reported him missing and was adamant that her son was not a runaway. She took matters into her own hands because she hung missing posters offering a $1,000 reward. She hired a private investigator. And neighborhood friends even helped out in hanging the posters of both boys. You know, I say David's mom did this, but there were posters going up of both boys. Yeah. And I'm just gonna, you know, they had one specific friend that helped hang posters, and his name was Wayne Henley. So just put that one in your pocket.
How old is Wayne?
At the time, he was a teenager. Let's see, in 1971, I think maybe he was 15. I say put it in your pocket because I'll obviously mention him later, but his name only slightly comes up at this point. And with this specific case, like I mentioned, David's mom really took matters into her own hands. It's unclear how exactly the police handled it. But that's why I kind of gave that general statement in the beginning stating how police usually treat these kinds of cases. So it's easy to assume that pretty much it goes without saying like how they handled these things.
What a badass mom, dude. Major respect to her.
Yeah. So David and Mally were still missing a year later when, in April 20th, 1972, Mark Scott disappeared when he was 17 years old. I think he was traveling from Houston to Austin, Texas, and something may have happened along the way. But what's weird is that his family did receive a postcard from him saying that he had found a job somewhere in Austin, Texas, and not to worry, but just keep that postcard bit on the back burner for now as well.
Okay.
Because Mark Scott disappeared.
Is a what?
Disappeared. Sorry. I don't,
Is it period?
I wanted to... No. I said disappeared because I didn't...
Oh, because Mark disappeared. Got it.
So also sometime in the spring of 1972, I didn't get an exact date, but two friends, 17-year-old Billy Balch and Johnny DeLone, seemed to vanish out of the blue while they were like out hanging out, somewhere in the streets outside.
Damn.
So Billy, he's the one I just mentioned, one of the two. He had a younger brother named Michael who had a history of running away. So police assumed Billy and Johnny just did the same.
Oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with you?
But Billy's parents apparently tried to follow a few of their own leads by looking for him where they knew he hung out or with people,
Yeah.
So one of these places is the home of a local electrician that worked for the Houston Light and Power Company. His name was Dean Corll, who was also an older man. He was known to everyone in the neighborhood as the Candyman. In his younger days, Dean Corll worked in his family's candy shop located in the Heights. I think it was located in the Heights. Pretty sure. He would give kids candy, he was known as being friendly, and so just around the neighborhood. So this earned him the nickname Candyman. Like, not because of anything gross at this point.
He just had candy.
He literally, his mom owned a candy shop and he would like give out candy. So like I mentioned, he was friendly, and his neighbors would recall him like helping out with favors, like helping jumpstart their vehicles, stuff like that. So nothing like bad about him, or nothing bad to say about him. He was also described as good looking, which helped a lot in those days, I guess. And he was just friendly. So he was friends with a lot of the neighborhood kids. I guess he like lived near the neighborhood or area school. So as they walked to and fro, he'd kind of interact with them, say what's up, whatever. He would give kids rides. Like they would either just ride around for fun, or I don't know if he would take them places. Like, I don't know. As sketchy as all of this sounds, because it does, no one really thought it was concerning at the time, or like I said, no one had anything bad to say about Dean. So when Billy's parents go to his house to ask Dean if he had seen Billy or heard from him, he stated that he hadn't seen him in a while, but he would call if he found anything out or if Billy showed up. So I will go into more details about Dean Corll in a little bit, about his like background and stuff. So Billy and Johnny went missing in the spring of 1972. November rolls around, they're still missing. And remember, I mentioned Billy having a younger brother, Michael, who was known for running away. He vanished in July of 1973.
Oh, God.
So, like, a little over a year after his brother went missing. He was 15 years old. Imagine having a child go missing and having no answers. And then over a year later, your second child goes missing.
How are they? So, are they just you're saying a lot of names right now. Like,
yes, I know.
I haven't kept tally, but the police are really just saying all of these boys are going missing. They're not thinking like, oh, this is kind of a lot. Maybe we should look into it. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, I just scratching their asshole.
Exactly. So I did say a lot of names. I mentioned some victims so far. I will repeat them at the end.
Yeah.
And this next little bit that I get into, I'll name a few more, but from the rest of this story, it'll be pretty set and center on a few people. So if I confuse you, just ask me or to clarify, or if I am backwards on something, please.
I'm smoking. Of course it's gonna happen.
On August 8th, 1973 was a Wednesday. 3 teenagers I don't really know if they sneak out in the early hours or if they just kind of leave their homes, because they all seem to come from broken families and spent time on the streets and stuff. So anyways, 3 teenagers leave in the early hours to drive to Pasadena, Texas, which is another part of like southeast Houston. Like when you look at Houston on a map, it's huge, and it looks like Pasadena's part of Houston, but it's Pasadena. So it's just cities within cities. It's crazy. So these teenagers are going to Pasadena from the Heights area in Houston to party. Why else on a Wednesday night? 2 of these teenagers are 17-year-old Wayne Henley.
Yes, I noticed. The nod, the little look. Yes, I got you. Who else?
And his 15-year-old girlfriend, Rhonda Williams.
Wayne's girlfriend?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Dude, but it gets so much more weird. It gets so much more weird, okay?
Okay.
So Wayne and Rhonda had been dating for about a year-ish, basically ever since Rhonda's previous boyfriend had gone missing a year prior.
Oh my God, do you think they did that on purpose?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's
16-year-old
not
me,
funny.
Like, no, but oh God. When I think of all
him.
of the like romantic notions, you don't tell me that oh my God, that's so fucked up. Oh. He's so,
probably not. I don't know, but
she was in on it. Oh
no, I don't think no.
She
Rhonda's boyfriend, Frank Aguirre, or previous boyfriend, had gone missing, like I said, about a year prior under very strange circumstances.
Oh, I bet. Bet.
And if you didn't recognize the name Wayne Henley,
no, I didn't.
I mentioned him above as one of the neighborhood friends who helped hang missing posters of 13-year-old David Hillegeist and 16-year-old Mally Winkle in 1971.
I mean, I don't know.
So we're in 1973 now.
I don't know if it's just the way you're saying it, but this Wayne character is seeming pretty suspicious to me.
Yeah. And he really ends up being the forefront of this this story, even though there are other people involved. Yeah. Okay. That third friend going to Pasadena with Wayne and Rhonda was Tim Curley. He was about 19. And, I think he was driving. And so they all arrive at the house they were going to party in Pasadena around 3 a.m. that night. And they get their party on. They're drinking. They were huffing.
Oh, Glue?
Specifically huffing. I don't know if it was glue or paint.
That's like what it is, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it didn't specify on what they were huffing,
like
but there's a few options. I don't know if they had whippets back then, but they had whipped cream cans probably.
Same thing.
Dude, whippets.
I do not.
Don't do whippets, kid.
Don't.
Kids.
It like fucking kills your brain cells, man. Don't do it.
I know.
It's
so fun though. Okay. It was like only a couple times, like 8 years ago, okay? I promise.
Dead.
It's what, Los Angeles. Good times.
I can neither confirm nor deny that I have taken the drug.
I mean, I'm not telling you any of this from experience.
No, this is all secondhand.
Yeah. So yeah, they're huffing, they're puffing, they're drinking, and the three teenagers, you know, whatever. At 8:30 a.m., I started to go like off script, and then I realized there was a reason I did. And then I realized there's a reason why I have what I have. All right, so they're huffing, they're puffing, and at 8:30 a.m. that same Wednesday morning, Pasadena police get a call about a shooting that had happened at the same address where the party was at. Actually, Wayne Henley had called police saying, "I just shot somebody."
Oh, I thought that's not the turn I thought you were taking.
No.
Wow. I mean, good for Wayne, question mark?
And it's like, okay, good for Wayne, because I'll go over what happens and what leads him to obviously all this happening. So you do appreciate Wayne, what he does with police, but he also did a lot of fucked up shit. So It's like, okay.
I really thought that you were about to say that he called the police and was like, oh my God, the crazy a strange man came and did this. I was just here minding my own business. So yeah, that's good. When
police arrived on the scene, Wayne Henley, Rhonda Williams, and Tim Curley were waiting for them on the curb outside of the house. And 17-year-old Wayne Henley tells police that he had just killed a man and that he was inside. So when police and detectives go inside, they see a man laying face down in the hallway of the home. The man's feet were tied up with telephone cords, and he had about 6 gunshot wounds kind of along his back and shoulder area. I think there was maybe one in his forehead or something, or in his head.
Shit, so overkill.
Yeah. In the bedroom, as they continue to look through the house, there was a bedroom like right next to where the body was laying off the hallway. Mm-hmm. And in there was some pretty disturbing items. Oh. The floor was covered in clear plastic sheeting. And there was a wooden plank / like board on the floor that had handcuffs attached to it. The cops, I watched a crime stories episode on this, and the investigators from this case that were featured on the show, they called it a body board, and I tried looking it up because they show pictures in the show of what they're talking about, but it's literally like a piece of wood. So I was just trying to get more of a definition. And so when I looked at bodyboard, all I got was like surfing information.
Well, it's literally just like a board that you put the body on, but it's
that you attach someone to. Yeah.
Oh my God. Why is this such like a Dexter type? This reminds me so much of the. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, but Dexter wasn't a rapist.
Dexter did it for a reason. Well,
Dexter did it right.
Dexter new season, please sponsor
I had to say so myself. Dexter, please send me some merch. I'll fucking rock it, dude. There were a bunch of sexual objects laying around that bedroom as well, such as rope, bonding tape. They found 8 more pairs of handcuffs throughout the house. They found petroleum jelly.
Ew.
In the garage was a van that had a wooden box in the back of it, which very closely resembled a small casket.
Oh.
Yeah. It looked like a casket. They showed it, yeah. Also in the garage on the floor were traces of white lime. And they were able to pretty quickly ID the body in the hallway. It was none other than 33-year-old Dean Coral, a.k.a. the Candyman.
Oh, shit.
Dean Coral. His name is so weird. It's like Coral, but it's Corll. Coral. He was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana on Christmas Eve, actually, December 24th, 1939. Mm-hmm. Dean's parents didn't have the happiest of marriages. It was full of arguing. Apparently, Dean's father was a strict disciplinarian. Mm-hmm. Although it was unknown if he ever got physical with his disciplines or like abused Dean physically.
Yeah.
But also, remember at this point, Dean's a young boy in the 1940s, so certain punishments or disciplines were totally considered acceptable. More normal back then. Mm-hmm. So
would not be abuse, shocking if he
what we beat. Would consider was abuse is kind of gray.
Yeah.
But Dean's mom, on the other hand, apparently doted on him and was pretty loving. And his parents got divorced in 1946 when he was around 7. But shortly after the divorce, Dean's parents reconciled and got remarried.
Oh, that's a little toxic.
To each other. Yeah. But they got divorced again.
Oh my gosh. The heart wants what it wants.
Right. So usually we see, in cases like these where you have someone committing some traumatic crimes, which I will get into more detail about. We obviously just know he's like the Candyman Killer at this point. So in a lot of serial killers upbringings or backgrounds, we see a lot of trauma and early signs like the McDonald's triad of when they're adults and they do these things, we can look back and say, oh yeah, like he had all this crap going on.
Yeah, wait, Dean's a serial killer?
Dean Coral is the Candyman Killer.
Oh, but he's the one that's dead.
Yes.
Okay. Whoa. Sorry. I was like, whoa, where did he become the killer? I thought he was just the innocent guy. Okay. Whoa.
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't clarify it enough. Well, it's because like in a few bullet points, this shit gets blown wide open. So.
Oh, so it makes the murder more justifiable for Warren?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into it.
I mean, I would agree so, but also, yeah. Okay. But with Dean Coral's childhood, it seems that really the only early life stressor or traumatic experience from his childhood was his parents' situation.
Yeah.
And maybe however strict his dad was. So it wasn't, it's not as bad as we've seen sometimes with other serial killers.
It doesn't have to be like trauma is validated no matter what level it's experienced at, if you even want to like call it a level. It's just like having a shitty parent can traumatize you whether or not it was like they beat you or they verbally assaulted you or it's just like
adverse childhood experiences is the technical term for childhood traumas, and there's definitely like you can take you just go down a list and you say, did you experience this, and you check however many that you've experienced, and it tells you like your ACE scores.
Yeah.
Adverse childhood experiences. And so this is my educational side coming out. And so we all suffer, even if you wouldn't consider it traumatic at all, it could still be considered an adverse childhood experience, because the word adverse really clarifies, it could be like I suffered a few, you suffered a few, but it could be as little as, just moving somewhere, or
just being put in a new situation.
But it goes obviously as
way deeper,
far as
all of those feelings are validated. It's just like at the end of the day, it doesn't justify you being a complete asshole to people at the end of the day. Right.
Well, and it just shows in this case that you don't have to have a traumatic upbringing or a super traumatic upbringing to be a serial killer.
Total fucking asshole.
Asshole is just like a really specific term to use because of the mutilations.
Oh no.
But it's very on point.
Yes, I'm being punny without even knowing it.
After the second divorce of Dean's parents, his mom ended up like traveling some of the southern states, and she met a traveling salesman who would become her next husband. Mm-hmm. So she relocated with Dean. I didn't know. I could not find out if he had siblings, but it said she relocated the family down to Vidor, Texas. Vidor.
Can't help you there.
Yeah. And so they ended up in Texas.
Got it.
Dean was well behaved in school. He got decent grades, not the best, but good enough, obviously, to fly under the radar. Mm-hmm. As he got older, he would eventually get drafted into the Army in 1964. Oh. But he only served 10 months because he arranged his own discharge with the excuse that he needed to help out his mom at home with her store. Oh. Yeah, so I guess it was just easy for him to do that.
Yeah, that seems like a really simple. I feel like it would have to be more than that, but okay. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, and there was a more specific term, like it was called something discharge. It wasn't honorable or dishonorable. It was like something else. But he basically arranged his own discharge with an excuse. And so I don't know if they probably
didn't want him. They were like, sure.
I just don't know how much truth there is to that. Like, they definitely avoided that one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Seriously.
But then also, what if maybe something did happen?
Yeah, and they just like put it under the fucking guise of that. Yeah, stay tuned for the next case for more on that stuff.
Yay. So he gets discharged out of the Army to go work at his mother's confectionery shop. And I had to look that up because I was like, what is that? It's a candy store. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
why don't you just say candy store? I
was gonna say like small gas station supplies, but
okay. So in the show, like when they were doing the reenactment of Dean and the candy shop, the shop had candy, but then it also had like small goods, like household, like not like in between grocery and necessity type items.
I have no idea.
But when I Googled it, it just said candy store. So who knows? They probably had a little bit of both. They at least had candy.
That I would always go to. Oh my God, my mouth's watering.
So also at this point, he's a little older. So at night, he's making and selling candy at the candy store. And by day, he's an electrician. Working at the candy store gave him opportunity to build rapport with young boys and, other kids around the neighborhood, and many of them were runaways or at least troubled. He even built a pool table in the back of the candy shop so that kids could just like hang out and chill.
I hate I wish I could be nice to people that were nice to kids, but then I hear cases like this and I'm like, you're probably just some fucking pervert, aren't you? And
Yeah, there's a difference between being nice and being creepy.
Oh, but how?
And sometimes it's hard to differ,
Exactly.
but yeah. So, after investigators ID'd Dean's body and kind of looked into his background, they saw him as a loner, a nomad. He would move pretty often. He would move from apartment to apartment in the Houston Heights area or rent house to house in the area. He just never... He was a nomad within the Houston area.
I thought you were going to say, like, outside of. I was like, oh, my God, did he do cases outside of Houston? Probably.
Well, because then he moved from the Houston Heights area to Pasadena, Texas, which is
right next
still kind of in Houston, but it's
still technically
definitely further away from the Heights.
Yeah. You're no longer in Houston.
Right. He also had little adult friendships or relationships outside of his professional life.
Mm-hmm.
He hung out with mostly teenage boys and would often provide his home as a place to party or for the runaways to stay at if they didn't have anywhere to go.
Ugh.
Detectives also find out that Dean was frequently seen with dun 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 Wayne Henley, as well as another boy, 18-year-old David Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're back to the point where police go to the house where Dean was murdered, which was his house. I didn't clarify that at the beginning until I mentioned he moved to Pasadena, but it was his house where Wayne, Rhonda, and Tim were going to party. Mm-hmm. So once Wayne, Rhonda, and Tim were back at the station being questioned, they had stories that lined up pretty well. They all kind of said that they arrived at Dean Corll's Pasadena home, which he had recently moved to, at around 3 a.m. But as they arrived, Dean was pretty upset because Wayne had brought his girlfriend with him. They smoothed things over. They were like, like, chill, it's fine, like, let's just party. So they begin to party. They were up all night drinking and huffing. And so the three teens actually, eventually passed out. I don't know where, like on a couch, on a floor, or whatever, but apparently they woke up at some point in the early morning and they were all handcuffed, but Rhonda and Tim had tape over their mouths.
Oh my God. Holy shit. Whoa.
When they woke up, Dean was like there, and Dean threatened to kill them all, but only after he had his fun.
What the fuck?
This is when he uncuffed Wayne, I think. So later on, I'll just say this now, because I didn't even write it anywhere in my notes. We find out there was a little scheme with the handcuffs, with Wayne being handcuffed also, but then getting out of them to, like, help.
Yeah.
So, like, him being cuffed was just for it to look like he was
part of it,
part of the scheme.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What
and I'll probably mention more detail on that, but so this is when Wayne somehow got uncuffed, and Dean recuffed Rhonda to one part of the bodyboard and Tim to the other. Again, like, I just don't know how to envision that, like, how they were attached to it. But yeah, Dean told Wayne to have sex with Rhonda while he had sex with Tim.
Oh. What the fuck? Could you imagine being Rhonda and Tim and then like suddenly your friend that you think that's like such a psychological mind fuck.
Yeah.
You think he's about to get tortured and you're so worried and then he just turns around and starts fucking torturing you. What the fuck?
Starts helping. But what's weird was at this point, Wayne, something like triggered in him. Something Dean said or told him to do, or something triggered Wayne where that he knew if he didn't act now, that Tim and Rhonda would be killed, and maybe him too.
Oh shit.
But at least, Rhonda and Tim would be killed.
Yeah.
So if he didn't act now, who knows? There was a gun nearby and he was uncuffed, so he grabbed the gun and opened fire on Dean. I saw that apparently he shot him once in the head, but he didn't like fall to the ground, and kind of stumbled a little bit and then fell to the ground, and that's when Wayne continued to shoot him like a couple times in the chest and a few times in the back.
Okay, so if you're saying that Wayne shot Dean 6 times in the head, and Wayne is a Candyman killer who's some kind of pedophile.
No.
Dean?
Wayne shot Dean, and Dean is the pedophile.
Yeah, did I not say that? Sorry.
You said Wayne.
Sorry. It's the White Claw talking. So if Wayne shot Dean 6 times, and Dean is the pedophile, and I'm thinking that, and Wayne is supposedly in on it, I'm thinking, one, it's probably like a Stockholm thing, and Dean probably had sexually assaulted / raped Wayne at some point, and that's where the anger and the 6 shots are coming from.
You're close. You're warm.
Okay.
All 3 of the teens' stories, as they told them, matched up, and so police thought this was a random case of self-defense. Just looking from the outside in. But as they continue to speak with Wayne Henley, he reveals shocking information that would open this case up way wider than they could have imagined. So Wayne tells investigators that he had more of a reason to shoot Dean. Dean had a warehouse. It was like a boat shed at a storage unit type place. Mm-hmm. So I say warehouse, but it was a boat shed full of bodies. He even gave names of missing boys from the Heights area to back up his claims.
That the police said fucking ran away? Yeah.
Right. Totally. Some of the names he gave were Charles Cobble and Marty Jones, who had only been missing a few weeks at that point. And both of those 2 boys did not fit the profile of a runaway.
Of course they didn't.
A third name given by Wayne Henley was David Hillegeist, whom I mentioned at the top of the story, who I said he was one of the boys that Wayne helped hang missing posters for.
I'm just like...
So police already had a file on David Hillegeist, because when he went missing, his mom reported him missing, and so they were able to, kind of back up Wayne's claims on David, and they realized quickly that Wayne's claims may possibly have some truth to them. So when Wayne tells police he thinks he knows how to get to the shed, they all ride together to that location that same afternoon. So it's still August 8th, 1973, that same Wednesday where they were huffing paint all night and woke up and called the cops because they shot Dean. So we're still on Wednesday. So Wayne led investigators to the Southwest Boat Storage Facility in Houston, and it just, looks like a typical boat storage type of place. And Wayne pointed out stall number 11 as being the one that contained the bodies that he mentioned. And still at this point, police aren't really sure how much they should be trusting Wayne. They don't know how truthful he's being. They don't even know if he really knows what he's talking about. Like if he just is,
he doesn't know what he's talking
clueless
about,
or misinformed.
Names of fucking missing people. How dense can these cops be? Well,
they have reason. I mean, I wouldn't immediately trust someone 100%. Like,
he just killed someone.
I would take his lead to bodies, and after finding potential bodies is when I would start to trust them for sure.
Does it? But he also just killed. I'm just like, does it? I get what you mean, but does it say? Do you say later like how long he's known about these bodies?
Yes.
Ugh. Piece of shit. I don't like.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to paint Wayne in a good light at all. I'm just hands down, he is pretty honest and truthful about the information he provides police in recovering these victims.
That's good, I guess.
Because he could have totally not.
Least, yeah, we know a lot of fucking people that don't. Disgusting.
So when they approached stall number 11, it was obviously locked. So detectives went to the front office of the boat stalls to, ask to get it unlocked, which was very nice instead of like forcing them in.
Yeah, just fucking opening it.
They also had and wanted to verify who the stall belonged to, and it was in fact under Dean Corll's name, who was renting the stall. So they get the door of the stall open, and when they open the stall, Wayne was standing like right there. And his face apparently went white as a ghost, because one of the detectives was describing this moment in the show, and he said that when he saw Wayne's face go so white, he knew he was like telling the truth. Because they were boat stalls, Kristen, I don't know if you've ever been in one, but the floor of the stalls is just earth. So in Dean's unit, he had laid down carpets to kind of create a floor. Mm-hmm. And there in the shed as well was a stripped out vehicle, as well as random junk, shovels, a couple of bicycles, random shoes and jackets, but also some sacks of lime. They noticed that under some of the carpeting were raised areas of the ground that had looked, like dug up, and they seemed kind of fresh,
Yeah.
So Wayne had obviously told them like the bodies are in there, and so they start to dig. And the show I watched mentioned that they brought in trustees from the local jail to help dig. And I was like, you mean inmates?
Yeah.
That you maybe trust to leave the jail?
The inmates on good behavior.
Yeah. Because literally in the show they're reenacting it, and they have inmates in like white jumpsuits with shovels, helping unearth these
like
bodies.
Handcuffs on their fucking ankles.
Not even. It's like, oh my god. I just had to note that little part. So while digging, at first, initially, they start to hit a little layer of white powder that was obviously lime. And only about 6 inches under the surface, they discover a body.
Oh, fuck.
It was wrapped in clear plastic, the same plastic found on the bedroom floor of Dean Corll's house. This body that they discovered was of a naked young boy, and he had cord wrapped around his neck. So after making this discovery of this first body, they brought out medical examiners and crime labs immediately to continue the careful dig because there were more. The shed had been rented by Coral for almost 2 years. He apparently would go out to the shed about twice a week, and he even inquired about renting a second unit, but never got the chance to. And by this point, news had spread and television crews swarmed the area of the boat sheds. They even do a televised interview with Wayne where he discusses what happened and like what a bad person Dean was and who he was, which nowadays is unthinkable.
Yeah.
Because they just had Wayne hanging out with them at the boat stalls.
Yeah.
And there's also some famous footage of Wayne when he used someone's car phone to call his mom on the site of the dig at the boat stalls. Because you know how they used to have phones like in cars?
Yeah, the big ass phones the size of your head.
So, yeah, there's footage of him on the car phone, like leaning on the outside of a car. And he goes, Mama, it's me, Wayne. I shot Dean. Which I'm like, God. And he really sounded like that, okay?
No, I believe you.
That little footage of him making that phone call is apparently famous. I don't know. I wasn't watching the TV in the 70s.
Yeah.
As the dig continues, another body is discovered. And then another one.
Ugh.
And then another one.
Dude.
By midnight that day, 8 bodies had been dug up.
Oh my God, and then he wanted another shed.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, man. It's just like to think what people would continue to do if you didn't fucking.
Right. He would have kept preying on fucking vulnerable kids for sure.
And they would have just been fucking continued to have been reported as fucking runaways. Like, it's crazy to think how like Wayne was really the key factor in this whole thing, and like how in a completely alternate reality, if Wayne hadn't thought in his mind like, oh, I'm going to turn Dean in, like it would have, like, who knows how long it would have gone on for.
It would have continued.
Because it like cops weren't even close to thinking that they even had a problem.
Right.
Ugh.
And that's, building that good rapport in the community helped him out, because
you didn't even know that you had a serial killer on your hands. Like, what the?
Right.
I'm internally screaming. Screaming. That is ridiculous. They had no idea. No clue.
And of course, this is the 70s when serial killers are like a thing, but this is the early 70s.
To catch a serial killer and you didn't even know you had one? Oh my God. Oh.
As they continued to dig, obviously they're being careful. They systematically dug in sections, and it was said that some bodies were dug 3 deep, buried one on top of one another.
Poor baby boys.
As this was all getting uncovered, police continue to be shocked and describe it as the crime of the century. I mean, they're just completely blown away by how many bodies they keep digging up.
Yeah, because they weren't even expecting, They
literally thought this was a one and done self.
They're expecting one,
case.
And then they see this, and then they just, the feeling really sinks in of how much they just really fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh.
The next day, Thursday, August 9th, 1973, the search for more bodies continued. They uncover 9 more.
Oh my. So we're at
from the boat shed.
17?
17 total.
Oh My God. I'm really disappointed in this law enforcement community right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's shocking. I wasn't expecting that number. I thought we were going to stop there. What? Were they all in one general location?
So at this point, they're all they were all recovered from the boat shed.
We're lucky that this asshole was dumb enough to fucking bury them in one spot, honestly. Yeah. Because
well, not so much, because it's about to get worse.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask, but I didn't want it to be true. But
there's a couple of other places. Ugh. A lot of the bodies were buried with small items like pieces of clothing, and this kind of helped to identify some of them. Obviously, dental records were used because they were badly decomposed, besides a few of them. And
because you said some had gone missing like just a week or 2
weeks,
ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they were luckily able to identify a good portion of the bodies pretty quickly.
But the whole aspect of him bearing like a trinket with them is so ominous. Like, I don't like it.
Well, I don't know if he just kind of undressed them as much as he wanted to, like, or I don't know if it was a trinket thing or if there was just some clothing still on them. I don't know. Because it was more like a jacket, or because there are also like jackets and shoes above ground laying around. So I think it was just like...
It's just like whatever clothes hadn't been just like completely destroyed at that point or tossed. Yeah.
So obviously Wayne Henley continues to be questioned because of the body count. Police don't believe that Dean was acting alone.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, sir, but how do you know all of these people? I'm just curious, and especially one that has been missing since the beginning of this story. So, like, yeah, you gotta answer some shit for me, sir.
Wayne was pretty straightforward with investigators, telling them that he knew the specific names of some of the victims because he was present when they made contact with Dean. When they dug up that first body in the boat shed, apparently Wayne was like, oh, that's so-and-so, and named who it was. So this obviously gave off the impression that Wayne had a deeper role.
Wayne! I don't think you're telling the truth. Honest, you gotta...
No, I mean, I don't know. So Wayne and Dean developed a relationship when Wayne was only about 14 years old. And we find out that Dean had a significant, like, control over Wayne. Although we find, like, it's presumed that Wayne stays around for a reason and he might enjoy it. So
wait, I know you said it in the beginning. How does he have mommy daddy issues? Does he have
I haven't gone into Wayne yet.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't know. Okay.
Right. I'm about to.
Okay.
Yes,
I was like, damn, Kristen,
sorry,
pay more attention to this story.
No, it's okay. I should have kind of said that I'll get into his background later.
I was like, because he's not my Theodore would never. I love him way too much for him to...
This is like the ultimate do not take candy from strangers story.
Oh my God. Okay, so I heard the ice cream man and I was gonna make that a habit. Not any longer. Sorry, kiddo.
The ice cream man.
Yeah, little ice cream guy.
I got ice cream from the ice cream man today.
No, not after this story. I'm not.
But he's an old man. He's so nice.
Oh, he probably does that to all the young kids. He's probably the ice cream man killer.
No, he has children.
Don't the BTK did too?
I'll enjoy my Choco Tacos. Okay.
I will have you order them, and I will watch and wave from afar.
Dude, I go running out like a kid when I hear it.
Oh my God, I got so excited. I was like, Theodore, you and I are gonna do this. We're gonna be those kids that like run out when we hear the ice cream truck.
Hell yeah. Wayne admitted also that he would help lure young boys for Dean. So he'd tell boys that he had marijuana or other drugs, or say that they were going to go to a party or have a party. And this is how he'd bring the boys to Dean Corll's house, because it was the hangout spot, apparently. He claimed to have no part in any sexual abuse, mutilation, or murder of the boys.
Like it fucking matters, honestly.
Because he did.
Fucking, like, you're the reason that these boys are dead. Fuck you, Wayne.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, he did admit that he was sometimes present when it happened. So.
Wayne, you're not, like, what are you, do you think, what picture do you think you're trying to paint yourself as? Because it's not looking good no matter what. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. As soon as this happened, you should have just said, cops, hello, crime. I'd like to report it. Not fucking 17 bodies in. What the frickety frick is actually going on? Like, people are weird, man.
Another name here for you, but it's one that I did mention earlier. And from this point out, it'll only be like these 3 names mentioned, the main characters, besides at the end when I do talk a little about the victims. So remember that other name earlier that I mentioned, David Brooks. He was the second boy that Dean Corll had been frequently seen with. Oh, yeah. Aside from Wayne. Mm-hmm. And sorry, I do first names usually in my stories.
I did last names, but then I started to go to the first names. It's just because sometimes the last names are kind of hard.
Well, yeah, they're kind of hard, and also like with the first names, it helps me put better like.
I get you. If you don't like it, sorry.
People attachment to the names. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Don't apologize. You just do you.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, I'm gonna do me.
Yeah. Well, so at the time when this is all happening, Wayne is still in custody being questioned. It's still the 9th of 1973. 18-year-old David Brooks and his father show up to the Houston homicide unit that morning of the 9th with some enticing information. Mm-hmm. So they show up in Houston homicide unit the morning of the 9th. And that same morning of the 9th is when Wayne is with Pasadena police giving them information. Mm-mm. So when David is there at the Houston homicide unit with his father, he admits to also helping lure teenagers for Dean. He also admits he had no part in the assaults and murders. But he admits that it definitely differs for Wayne.
Oh.
So far, David's statements line up but also contradict what Wayne was saying. But also, up until this point, Wayne had not mentioned David Brooks or his involvement to investigators at all.
Yeah, Wayne's not as truthful as he thinks he is.
Right. So, when they find out David Brooks came in and said what he said, the investigators in Pasadena bring it up to Wayne, and he says something back like, "Oh, good, now I can tell you the whole story."
What the why weren't you going to say it in the beginning?
He also seemed a little upset because he was told that David denied having like a lot of involvement. And so this is when Wayne gets brought to the Houston Police Department so that him and David are given the opportunity to speak to each other. Mm-hmm. This is when Wayne urges or convinces David to tell the truth. So, before I go on in the timeline of this story, I'm going to get in the backgrounds and or early lives of Wayne Henley and David Brooks, so that we can get kind of a better idea of their friendship or relationship with each other, as well as their relationship with Dean Corll.
Yeah.
So, I'll start with Elmer Wayne Henley. So obviously he goes by Wayne Henley, but he was born Elmer Wayne Henley on May 9th, 1956. He was the oldest of 4 sons to parents Elmer Wayne Henley Sr. and Mary Henley. Wayne's father was a violent alcoholic, and this caused their household to be, pretty dramatic and unhappy. Mary Henley did end up leaving her husband with her 4 sons to have a fresh start. So good for her.
Yeah, that takes a lot of guts.
It's always hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened when Wayne was about 14. So that's still an age where he's old enough to understand things, and he remembers the shit he's been through. It's an age where it definitely like affects you too. Like my parents got divorced when I was 2, and I can tell you that it really hadn't. Right.
That divorce didn't have an effect on me. It was just like the whatever, because I literally have no memory of it.
Because I have memory of of the divorce of my parents, and there definitely was some drama and traumas attached to it. But I was like, it was like the summer before 3rd grade. So although I remember it at the time, I still was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, like my first memory.
Away.
Yeah.
But my brother was going into like the 6th or 7th grade. So he was a little older, hitting like puberty. And so I think, it would definitely affect someone of that nature differently.
Yeah, for sure. I like my first memories of my dad was with my stepmom, but I know like my dad got divorced later on with my stepmom. Like they stayed together a lot longer, and I know that affected my stepsisters. I don't know if I want to say that, but yeah. I don't know if they want me talking about them, but yeah, it definitely affected them like 1,000% more than it would have me, because yeah.
All right. So unfortunately, and kind of assumptionally, if that's a word, the troubles from Wayne's childhood would only stick with him.
Yeah.
He ended up dropping out of high school at a pretty early age, and I think so around this time was also when he met 16-year-old David Owen Brooks. And so I think Owen was around 15 when he met 16-year-old. I know at one point, like later in they were like a year apart. So he meets David Brooks at 15. David Owen Brooks lived in the Heights area. I didn't get his birthday, but he was a year older than Owen. A year older than Wayne. So
got it.
There's that. He also came from a broken home. His father was a bully and would criticize David for being weak. I did read that his parents were also divorced. I don't know when it happened, but it's just, you can see like the information you get on some people or parts of the story and not so much on the others, because more attention was given towards Wayne. And so.
Because Wayne definitely seemed to play more of a part in it.
Yeah. Although David knew Dean longer. And so, yeah. So David was kind of a loner. He spent a lot of time out on the streets. He was described as street smart. And so he met Dean Coral when he was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Dean would apparently be kind of a father figure to David and give him money or let him stay at his house when he didn't want to go home. David was 14 years old when Dean started to molest him on the regular. I did also read somewhere that David met Dean when he was 14. But I read somewhere else that it was 12, and then he started to molest him at 14. So it could be either way.
Either or, yeah. But
yeah.
still, either one
either
fucking
way,
terrible and
it's
shouldn't have
fucking
happened.
terrible. To keep David quiet, Dean would shower him with gifts and money, like I said. One time, probably, a few years or shortly after knowing Dean, while he was over at his house, he walked in on Dean raping 2 teenage boys. And apparently Dean at first told David that they had left somewhere, but then eventually admitted that he killed them.
Oh my God. How could you not fear for your life after that?
Right. Well, I'm sure he, this,
Probably
when you said
did.
Stockholm's syndrome earlier about Wayne, I said you were warm because I feel like maybe that applies more to David.
Mm-hmm.
And that later on we'll find out that Wayne just kind of maybe did it. He probably didn't feel as controlled by Dean as he thought he was, and he did it for himself a little more than maybe David did. I think David was definitely under a little more control.
Yeah.
So like I said, to buy his silence, he'd shower him with gifts. Eventually one of these gifts would be a really nice car.
Oh, shit.
I think I read that it was a Corvette, but I could totally be wrong.
Shit.
I could totally be wrong. Either way, a car. And I assume maybe this was when David was about 16. He was still young, but old enough to drive. I don't know.
But if someone gives you a Corvette, it's just I hate how at a young age we're such in the mindset of items will give us happiness. So that is
but also one of the reasons why he kind of gave David a car was because
he was fucking raping him.
No, because he told David to go out and bring him more boys, and he'd get paid $200 per boy. So the car was also a means of transportation of luring boys.
Oh, why would you do?
I mean, I didn't that was not a fact stated in research, but it's kind of assumed.
At this point, David just thought oh, I'm gonna bring him over and he's gonna rape these boys. He didn't know that they were getting killed at this point, so I'm assuming that's how he justified it. And then later on, he's just whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, at this point, it was hard to. It wasn't clarified on
but it's assumed,
how much David knew. I did mention that. By this point, I think he did know that Dean had killed those 2 boys he walked him in on him raping, but I didn't know if he knew it was an actual thing. So, yeah. But he very well could have known because they had this weird relationship.
Yeah.
And you can only really know if you're in it. So, David Brooks introduced Wayne Henley to Dean Corll in late 1971. Apparently is with the intention of feeding or selling him to the sicko. David was bringing Wayne over to meet Dean
be the fucking
to
next
be a victim.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
But instead of becoming one of Dean's victims, Wayne was actually kind of recruited. He was fascinated and curious by Dean. He mentioned just really being he looked up to Dean because he was older and he had his own job as an electrician. He had a home and he lived this life.
Okay,
and
that's
it's just
not
kind of odd, but
don't look
he
up
just
to
saw
that,
him as
Sweeney.
an independent man,
Yeah.
Wayne had daddy issues, so Dean became a role model / male father figure to Wayne as well, and was someone that Wayne respected because of what I just said. like I mentioned, when Dean and Wayne met, instead of becoming one of his victims, Wayne became recruited to kind of help lure boys. So apparently, the day after meeting Wayne, Dean told him about an organization that he was a part of that trafficked young boys and young men.
What the fuck?
And apparently this is like a Dallas-based pedophile ring.
That doesn't surprise me.
Right. But I didn't get too much from that. I tried looking it up. I don't know. And this is one of those things where I probably could have added more information. But it also could have been just something he was telling Wayne, like, you're part of a bigger thing,
But
like
how is you as a young boy be a part of that, knowing that it's happening to other people just like you?
Because Dean immediately offered Wayne money to lure boys in. So I don't know if that's something he told him to, like...
$200? I get it's the 70s, but guys...
It's a lot.
That's... Just, like, sell other boys your age? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, Wayne would also say that he initially turned Dean down, but then changed his mind pretty shortly after because he needed the money.
Ew.
So I was like, okay.
Then get a fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
You say to a 15-year-old dropout.
I'm saying as an unemployed fucking person. Hey, my job is the podcast, okay? I'm applying. They just value experience over education, that's all.
I should have written my flight costs off as business expenses, or I should in the future, since I'm doing a case on something.
I think you can still write it down, technically. Just save the
I
receipts.
just have to do it for... Oh my god. So now that I've talked about Wayne and David and their backgrounds and how they came to know each other, as well as how they both came to know Dean Corll, I'm going to take us back to the police station where Wayne and David have been reunited, and this is when Wayne urges David to tell the truth. And so at this point, both boys have admitted to luring boys for Dean. David and Wayne would continue to tell investigators about the part they played, as well as kind of their relationship with Dean and stuff. And I don't know. Because they could have painted it however they wanted to at this point. Because Dean is dead.
Yeah, Dean's dead, and obviously it's just like, even though just Wayne has already not been 100%, so I'm just like, I get he's been honest with certain things, but you just, with someone with that kind of mindset, I just don't ever take what they say at face value, but still.
Right. So... aside from this, although we don't know what they could or could not have told us or been honest with, they would be able to recount specific names of the victims, the order they were killed in, and where they were buried. So, they continued to reveal where more bodies were buried. Remember, the total right now is 17. And it's still Thursday, August 9th at this point, okay?
Better end up in jail for the rest of their lives. Oh my god.
So, like the afternoon or whatever of the 9th, Wayne rides with detectives to a wooded area near Lake Sam Rayburn, where he was able to guide them directly to more bodies. They were driving down a dirt road when Wayne apparently told them to, like, stop because there's 2 bodies right there. And, of course, it let out. They dug up 2 bodies right where he said they were. The next morning, Friday, August 10th, 1973, investigators go back into the same wooded area, and Wayne showed them where 2 more bodies were. So out of those 4 victims that had been recovered from the wooded area over those 2 days, 3 of the victims had been strangled with cord, which were still around their necks. The 4th body had a noose around his neck. All 4 bodies had signs of torture and mutilation. So on the afternoon of the 10th, both David and Wayne lead investigators to a 3rd location. This location was a beach area of the High Island community, which is north up the coast from Galveston on the coast of Texas. Mm-hmm. They point out areas of the beach where more bodies were buried.
So how many bodies did they find at the 2nd location? You said 4? All right, so 21, and now how many are we? Oh, dude, what the...
So, of course, at this point, like I said at the beginning, like when they were first out at the boat stalls, there was a media frenzy out there. And, of course, the media followed them out to this beachy area on High Island. So there's also kind of some well-known or famous at the time footage and pictures of Wayne and David, on the beach and pictures of investigators digging. And so we might post one of Wayne and David on the beach. So, Kristen, how many more bodies were buried and recovered from the beach?
I don't even want to guess. That's so disturbing. Is it more or less than the 2nd?
More.
Dude, what the fuck is wrong? And then what's even more disturbing to me is this is just while David and fucking Wayne are in the picture, and it seems to me like he's done it before. So, like, I'm at a loss for fucking words right now. It's so upsetting how many bodies we're finding, and the police had no idea that this was going on. And how long would it have taken? Honestly, I'm just at a loss for words. I need to get so fucking hammered right now to process that this was an actual event in fucking history. If I start slurring, I'm not sorry, because what the actual fuck is going on in society right now?
6 more bodies were recovered from the beach that day. So this makes the total.
How did this not 27. Make national headlines? It's so disturbing that we can just so callously like push this to the side and be like, oh, it's not a big 26 bodies, not a big deal. Like this whole fucking, we're finding all of the bodies in Canada and the United States on the schools, like the Indian reservation schools, like. It's disgusting how we just let it happen and no big deal. It's whatever. It's like next day's news. It's so disgusting. I can't believe this. It's embarrassing.
So on this same day of Friday, August 10th, when those 6 additional bodies were recovered, was the same day Dean Coral was laid to rest, if anyone cares.
Ew, I don't. Fuck you. Was it an unmarked grave so no one would, like, destroy it?
No clue. That's all I got. Monday, August 13th, the grand jury gathers in Houston to hear witnesses and their statements in the case.
Yeah, because all of the missing families are being validated in such the wrong way. It is the worst I told you so. Because fuck these cops. Like, the parents came, for the most part, and were like, hello, my child. And then for them to show up dead and then be like, I fucking, like, it's not even worth it. It's the
literally
worst.
My next bullet. Many parents testified about the lack of effort by the police to locate their missing children.
They didn't, like, what the fuck? Apparently none of these police had children that they clearly cared about, because if It's like if your child goes, if someone comes up to you and you have a kid and they go, oh, my kid is missing, how could you not feel for them and go, like, I'm going to do everything that I can to help you out?
And this really
it's your
caused
job.
Hysteria. Yeah.
Sorry.
This caused hysteria and shook the Heights community because about 18 or at least 18 of the victims lived or were from the Heights.
Was this and you said it was a nice community too, right? It was like fairly nice.
Until the economic downturn, and that's when it kind of
went under the
street kids were hanging out there.
Yeah.
So obviously during the court and trials, the focus was on Wayne Henley and David Brooks, of course, because the main character in this got the easy way out. This day in court, both Tim Curley and Rhonda Williams testified, and they were the two teenagers that went with Wayne to party, and that's the night when Dean was shot. So they testified to describe what happened, during their experience the night/morning of August 8th. And people who were in the courtroom, everyone who was listening, they found it pretty clear that the intent was for at least Tim Curley to be Dean's next victim that night.
Yeah.
Because
he straight up said, I want to have sex with him.
Yeah, well, and he was mad that Rhonda was there, so it makes you think that maybe it was supposed to be just Tim and Wayne for Tim to be the victim, so...
because Wayne also was there a lot of times when Dean would torture and kill these boys.
Right. Ew. So I'll touch back on that now that I remember about the handcuff thing, and so like how they would wake up and Wayne would be handcuffed with them. Apparently, Wayne would get handcuffed but have a key in his back pocket to where whenever shit was happening to the intended victims, he could like pretend to get out of his handcuffs. Yeah.
What? That's like, it's like playing with your food. Why are you playing with the victims like that? Like, you are about to kill them. Why do you need to put them through all of this unnecessary torture? It is so fucked up, and you are just like the sickest of sick. And to say, oh, I didn't have a big part in it, you literally picked these boys and drove them to their death and then watched and then messed with them by pretending to be their friend, and then like, oh, I escaped. Nope, psych, I'm in on it too. Like, no. You deserve a life in prison. I don't say death sentence, but you deserve life in prison. Oh my god, I'm just...
Hell yeah. Also that day in court, a young man / teenager, Billy Ridinger, testified, and he was the only known survivor of Dean's.
Damn.
He had escaped his ill fate sometime earlier in like 1971. I don't have details on his experience, how he escaped, or what he said in court. So,
yeah.
By October of 1973, all but 6 bodies had been identified, and there were rumors that there could have been other burial sites.
Yeah, because
Wayne and David knew what they knew while they were involved with Dean during their lifetimes. Dean had existed as an adult plenty before that.
And we fucking will never know because Wayne fucking killed Dean. Oh my god, you know. Like, that was not it wasn't the first victim. It wasn't. I know in my soul it wasn't. And it's so disappointing that we may never be able to find out. I hope that like through DNA or something we're gonna be able to connect it one day, but I don't even like fucking know how. It's just
Right.
I hate saying that. I hate saying that because it's just putting negative energy out there, but it's just a question that needs to be answered one day.
It's true. And those questions won't be answered.
I can help. I'm going to put it out there one day. Who knows? Like, by some fucking miracle of God, like 70 years down the road it happens. Like, I will take it.
Yeah,
I may be dead, but I'll take it.
If they discover bodies and they can relate them back to that time period and that
it's just
area,
like, how would you even know?
Yeah. So obviously there's a super strong possibility of additional victims that were tortured and murdered by Dean that David and Wayne just simply don't know about. And so in 1974, David Brooks pled guilty to 1 count of murder in the death of Billy Lawrence. Again, I don't have a whole lot of information on what exact part he played in Billy's death, but I think this may have been one of the cases where he confessed to maybe being there when he was murdered. Because they other than what all he confessed to, that was just like what they got him on. So yeah. He was sentenced to a 99-year term.
Thank God. I was really, really worried there for a second that we were going to say some low years. Please don't tell me that he got out or anything like that, because you're really going to crush my soul. Okay.
No, we'll be happy with the endings of at least there.
Okay, this is good. Yeah, because I was real shocked with last story. I was real pissed about that. Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe my ears. Okay, I'm glad.
Wayne was tried separately, obviously, and his trial was way more of a media circus. At that time in history, they didn't allow cameras in the courtrooms, but outside of the courthouse, it was just insane. And like I said earlier, I'm not sure why so much more attention was given to him, other than the fact that he personally killed Dean and kind of opened up the investigation.
Yeah.
And we'll find out, just that Wayne was way more kind of outspoken and willing to talk than David was. So,
yeah, the media love the killer, or like the media loves the person that will talk to them the most. So that makes sense.
Wayne Henley was convicted for 6 murders and was sentenced to 6 concurrent 99-year terms. I didn't read if he pled guilty or not, but I assumed he did.
Did he go to trial? Or was it just like...
Yeah,
or was it like a jury thingy? Because that'll tell you if he pled guilty or not, because they won't take it to jury.
I assume they went to trial, because like David pled guilty and...
Or maybe I just got that wrong. But I know like it's just like the judge does it. You don't have like a court or anything.
I've pled guilty to some things in front of a court without a jury.
Yeah, it's without a jury.
Like I said, Wayne was more of a vocal and outgoing person. So from prison, he's been pretty vocal. He has given multiple interviews. He even said in one interview, "My only regret is that Dean isn't here now, so I could tell him what a good job I did killing him."
I'm sorry. So I can tell him that I did a good job?
He also promotes his artwork on a Facebook page from prison.
I'm sorry, you don't say that. By the way, you check out my artwork. What the actual...
Shameless plug.
I'm just like, the amount of therapy that I need after hearing that. Like, I think I'm literally left speech.
Yeah. Well, also, obviously, we're Mindhunter fans, and I did not even realize this when I was researching this case, But he was portrayed in the second season of Mindhunter.
Oh my god, Daddy.
Well, not him, the detective.
Oh. I was like, what?
I love that detective. Wow, that's actually going to make me, rewatch it.
I know. I'm like, I need to rewatch it because I don't know if they're doing another season.
But I thought it was about the Atlanta killer.
I don't think the whole season was about
portrayed.
him.
He like made an
appearance. I gotta watch it again so I can catch that.
He was portrayed, it said. Whatever that... I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know, like, in what episode or if it was multiple or...
Yeah, because they do little cases on the side, too.
Yeah. Wayne has applied for parole a couple times, but has gotten denied.
Yeah. Bye.
David lived a more quiet life in and from prison. He refused interviews on the regular, and he wouldn't even correspond with Wayne when he would be given the chance to.
I wonder if he's
David,
like I wonder if he's like upset with Wayne that because he didn't. I'm just wondering.
I'm just embarrassed, honestly.
So, did it say like what conversation led to David going into the police station with his dad? Like, was it out of shame or guilt? Like, I'm wondering what drove Wayne or David to confess, because it just really seems like David was kind of I don't even know. I don't want to say urged and wanted to continue killing, but
yeah, well, because I was wondering the same thing. And if you just kind of take bits and pieces from the story, like one of the two earlier victims, I think it was Billy's parents, who took their own leads and went to Dean's house because they knew their son hung out with them.
Yeah.
It could be assumed that a lot of the other parents may know who Dean is and know that their kids hang out with Dean. So maybe David's father knew that his son hung out with Dean, and when news maybe broke that Dean was dead, he was like, or because David's dad was a bully, and maybe he either had a conversation with David or a confrontation with David,
or maybe like caught him in the past doing sketchy shit, and he was like, I know what you're up to.
Regardless, he knew his son probably hung out with Dean and
or
had
even
a role to play.
David got spooked out by Wayne being arrested or being taken into custody, and was like, oh, he's gonna fudge, that he's gonna tell on me, I might as well just turn myself in.
It could have been like so many different conversations that led up to the point of them going in.
I was just curious. I'm curious.
I didn't read anything specifically, but just my assumptions, taking the bits and pieces. His dad at least knew who Dean was, probably, and that his son hung out with him, and that led to him knowing other things. So
yeah.
David did die in prison in 2020 of COVID-19.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
I'm glad COVID is getting some of the killers.
Clear out some space.
It's clearing out some of the wasted space in the world.
So both boys were street smart, but, still pretty immature, and they fell under Dean's influence pretty easily. It makes us wonder, just more about their involvement and what their relationships were like with Dean, because we don't know everything. And so it makes me wonder, like, if they enjoyed it, how much did Wayne enjoy it?
I wonder if Wayne had done it before in the past, like had a boy help him, and that just boy ended up... Or, yes, sorry. If Dean had a boy in the past, and that boy just ended up eventually becoming one of his victims, and that eventually would have been Wayne and David's outcome,
right?
If they hadn't
if they didn't comply, I could totally see it.
He obviously had no problem doing it, so it's just like,
they could have been doing it because they enjoyed it. They could have been doing it because they feared for their lives, and the money was involved, obviously, but.
Also, they had to have, like, gotten some kind of pleasure from it from some degree.
I know Wayne at least did. David, I don't know. I really don't know with that dude. Because he was obviously there doing
it.
stuff, but I think he was more, like I mentioned, under control, under the Stockholm type of thingy. And we don't know, at least I don't know from my lack of research, if Wayne was ever molested or had a sexual relationship with Dean, but David did and was molested. So I feel like maybe it just differed. We do know, I might mention it, I don't know, in a couple bullet points or something, but investigators kind of gathered that Wayne eventually, by like getting to know his personality more, they figured he must have enjoyed it, and to a certain point he got to almost be addicted and enjoy it that much, and it was almost like a control thing with him, where although he was being controlled by Dean, he still had control over the boys he was luring and playing a part up until the point they were brutalized.
Well, and it's very much that cynical cycle of when people hurt you for whatever reason want to just like lash out and hurt other people.
Yeah. So many of the victims were known by David and or Wayne. They were their neighborhood friends and schoolmates. The victims would be bound, gagged once they got to court. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the torture now.
Yeah.
I probably should have put this somewhere else in the story, but I forgot. The victims would be bound and gagged once they got to Coral's residence, probably after they passed out from smoking or drinking or huffing or something. They would be tied or handcuffed, eventually to a wooden board known as a torture board or a body board. They would get raped, mutilated. They were even sometimes forced by Dean to write postcards to their families saying they were okay.
What the fuck?
So that's why at the top of the story I mentioned that one boy who went missing who had written a postcard to his family saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I got a job in Austin, Texas. It's good paying."
Ugh.
Fucked up shit.
So fucked. Oh my god.
I'm not exactly sure how many victims he how many times he forced victims to do this, but after being brutally tortured and molested, the victims were either strangled or shot to death. And so I am going to talk about the victims now. I do have like more information on some of the victims, how they went missing, etc. But I do at least have the names and ages of the victims, like when they went missing or when they were murdered. So additionally, there was one victim found in the 80s, which brought the total to 28. And I believe it was with this victim where with the skull, they brought in a forensic artist to reconstruct and draw the face of the person, and it was of a teenage boy that matched with one who had been reported missing, like from that time period in the area. So, among the list of victims, there are 2 sets of brothers, and as I list them off, I tried to get them kind of in order from the years they went missing and were murdered, but they aren't exactly. So, apparently the first recorded victim was 18-year-old Jeffrey Conan in 1970. In December of 1970, 14-year-old James Glass and 14-year-old David Yates were murdered on the same day. January 1971, brothers Donald and Jerry Waldrop were murdered. They were 15 and 13 years old. Then we have Randall Harvey. He was 15 years old. And in May of 1971, 13-year-old David Hillegeist and 16-year-old Gregory Malley Winkle I've mentioned their names a few times. You know, about how Wayne helped hang the missing posters of them. But I also did not mention that David was actually a close friend of Wayne's.
So fucked.
Then we have 18-year-old Frank Aguirre, which you might recognize that name. That was the name of Rhonda Williams' boyfriend who had gone missing.
So I was fucking right.
He was another one of Wayne's friends that he lured to Dean. He was raped and murdered by Dean, then buried by all three, Wayne, David, and Dean, at the beach location.
Oh, my fucking... Oh, wow.
Reuben Watson was 17 years old. Willard Branch Jr., went by Rusty, was 17 years old. 17-year-old Mark Scott, a friend of both David and Wayne's, was lured by the boys with a promise of a party. He was raped and tortured by Dean and then strangled with a cord with the help of Wayne. Apparently. October 1972, 14-year-old Wally Simonu and 13-year-old Richard Hembry were, vanished and murdered. May 1972, 16-year-old Johnny DeLone and 17-year-old Billy Balch. Those were two friends that I had mentioned above, Billy and Johnny. After that, 17-year-old Stephen Sickman. July 1973, Billy Balch's brother, 17-year-old Michael Balch, would also fall to the hands of Dean. 19-year-old Richard Kepner. 17-year-old Joseph Lyles. 15-year-old Billy Ray Lawrence. 20-year-old Ray Blackburn. 15-year-old Homer Garcia. 17-year-old John Sellers. 18-year-old Marty Jones and 17-year-old Charles Carey Cobble were at the same time. 13-year-old James Dramala. And I believe I listed 27 because at least as of 2018, I couldn't really find anything earlier. One of the victims remains to be unidentified.
Oh my god. Yeah, because some
Out of the
parents
28.
didn't even care to report him missing.
So, from 1970 to 1973, 3 years, 28 known murder victims later. This murder spree, known at the time as the Houston Mass Murderers, would end, and Dean Corll met his end. And it's major mixed feelings about this case, all negative.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that was the story of the Candyman Killer.
Wow.
Along with his accomplices.
Wow. All I have to say is the twists and turns I did not enjoy one bit, but I appreciate you taking the time to take me through those twists and turns because I can imagine that wasn't enjoyable. Holy shit, that story. Wow.
Yeah.
Just
Dude, and this was another one of those 1 hour or 45-minute long episodes that it took me 7 hours to watch.
yeah.
And that's just how I am with everything. I play, pause, rewind, play, pause, rewind. But this one really, I was just and who, and what, and where? Oh my god.
But yeah, dude, fuck. It's just so, I know every time we talk about it, I should expect it, but it's just so upsetting to hear these fucking law enforcement people or just these fucking people in general just be like, yeah, no, nothing's wrong, no big deal, nothing bad is going on. And I'm just like, are you red flags everywhere? What the fuck? It's just
right.
Wow. Well, thank you. A round of applause.
You're welcome.
That was an excellent story. Well done. You did a great job telling it.
Thank you. I know it can be confusing with the names, but I hoped I did okay. Did you start to recognize the case after a while, or was it still kind of...
I definitely remember bits and pieces, but I did not remember the number for sure of victims. So
that's what blows my mind, is that there's so many victims in such a short period of time, where I don't know why this isn't labeled as, or as he
one of the most
isn't labeled as one of the most prolific serial killers.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact victims of fucking all the famous ones. I'm like blanking on all their names.
Honestly, not fucking 28. It's a little insane.
So it just makes me wonder, was it because it was male to male pedophilia? Was it like, why else is he not? I don't know.
And
if there's any reason at all, or if I'm overthinking it.
You have to think this is also back in the 70s. I don't know if also the whole homosexuality aspect of it was like a thing that would have affected it. It's just, all of it is all around disgusting, but it's even more disgusting when you just hear that cases like this just get completely brushed under the rug. And it's like, how is that possible? These were kids' children, these were parents' children.
It really makes me wonder if Dean Corll would have been caught alive, like what kind of sentencing would he have gotten?
It really scares me, the fact that 28 victims that we know of, because I'm like 99.99999% sure that that was not his first killing. And it's even more disturbing when you think, if it hadn't have been for Wayne, like how long would it have actually took, because they didn't even know that there was a trail to follow. And
Wayne could have totally killed Dean and not opened his mouth.
Yeah. And we would have never... I can't with this. I can't. The twists and turns it could have took, but... No. Wow. All right. I'm going to go get fucked up, no, I can't. I gotta go edit. I'm gonna go get fucked up while I edit this, so if you hear mistakes, just run through that. And until next time, guys, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Oh my god, did I do it? I think I did.
At RARW Podcast. And we didn't cheers.
Oh no, cheers to... I don't know.
Cheers to not accepting candy from strangers.
Cheers to me actually being speechless for once in my life. I'm sure the audience is glad. Okay, bye.
Bye.